trolls don't stop nothing over here. So I'm out there just raffling these hoes up and making my money.
People were tweeting me, they were like, Nicole, you did so well on SNL. And I was like, I get it. Two fat black women cannot exist at the same time.
You're the first person I'm calling, Lizzo, and you better pick up.
Welcome to the Hollywood Reporter Roundtables. I'm Mikey O'Connell, and this is the Reality Roundtable, and we are going to jump right into it. When was the last time that you desperately wanted to not be on camera and had to anyways? And right now is not an acceptable answer.
Mine was like a really long time ago. It was like in August of 2019. It was like a long time. So that's pretty cute.
That's it? We don't get to know what it was?
Yeah, what happened?
It's like tragic. I talked about it in my book. My cat fell out of a window and he died, and it was like the worst day of my life, and I'm HIV positive, and I watched my dad die in the living room. Like, I've been through some shit, and that was definitely the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So yeah, then I had to go film like the like end thing on Queer Eye where we like find someone like, you know, like how they turn out. And I was like, I just was really bereft. But other than that, honey, it's usually I'm really excited to be there.
I love being on camera all the time. I think I look good most of the time. But I will say, while filming Watch Out for the Big Girls, there was a moment, it's on camera. I had just dropped Rumors, and there was a lot of noise on the internet. I saw some stuff about me, and I remember I came to set and I was in glam and I had my wig cap on and like half my makeup done, and I just kind of like broke down in the bathroom on set. And then I went on Instagram Live and I, talked about, racism and fat phobia, and why does that have to be directed towards me all the time when I just want to be a musician, man? And I was weeping, like literally weeping.
It's like it doesn't matter how much positive energy you put into the world, you're still gonna have people who have something mean to say about you. I'm working this hard, my tolerance gets lower, and it gets to me.
And they're like, okay, let's finish your glam so you can go in and do this reality show. And instead of kind of going in and being like, I hate this, I'm faking it, I decided to just be open with the girls and tell them like, yeah, I'm going through it right now, and I'm just so grateful for you. And you see it actually on the show. So no, I didn't want to go on camera, but turning it into something useful and purposeful, I think, is the point.
I mean, on Top Chef, it's not that hard because our show, we feel like the stars are really the chefs. So there's a lot of times when it's just that the hours are grueling. But right now I'm filming Taste the Nation, and, we had the production set the way we did so I could do it and get out in time for Top Chef. And my grandmother died. I went to India for like 3 days. I went to India for 72 hours in February, came back and started filming here. And we were with Cambodian refugees, these women telling me how, they literally watched their child die in their arms of starvation as they were trying to flee the Khmer Rouge. And I was at the temple with them, and all of a sudden I heard the monks chant and I started crying my eyes out. We had started production 5 days after I got back from cremating my grandma and throwing her ashes in the Indian Ocean. It was surreal. And at that moment, I just thought, God, I really wish the cameras weren't here. And I rarely say that because it's so much about capturing the moment of some human going through something. It's really, really intense sometimes.
Yeah, it is about capturing the moment, but it's like we need some moments for ourselves too,
I don't have anything as dramatic. I host a cake show where it's fun. So like, if something devastating has happened in my life, I get to like put on makeup, get on camera, and like make people laugh, and then that in turn makes me feel better. So like I feel really lucky that it like getting ready to get on camera then helps me with my personal life.
But Nicole, as someone who's been a contestant on your show, may I just say, it really is like the most fun place. But what happens if you like pull a kneecap, honey, doing your gorgeous athletic pole dancing, honey. You never know. That might happen. You have to like stand up and do lines and stuff. But I just want to slow clap for the pole dance. It's one of my favorite things on Instagram. You're beautiful. No, it's so good. If you guys don't follow Nicole Byer, it's like, I mean, come for the pole dancing, stay for everything else. It's just next level, and I had to say it. I'm sorry, Nicole. I did. I'm sorry.
I mean, when I pull a kneecap, I like fell off a motorcycle before I did Lego Masters with Will, and like I could barely walk. But again, it was like I got to make people laugh, so then my leg didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a trooper. You were a trooper that day, and you came out in a Lego built car, which was, I gotta say, a lot of people wouldn't have done that, and you did it. You showed up. I mean, I know the term hero gets thrown around a lot, but that was a case of a real life hero. I would say for me, the only time I don't want to be on camera, I mean, there's nothing less funny than 7 a.m. That's the worst. And when you've got an early call, I mean, you do it, but that's like you're just not firing, and you've got to feign interest. Is that too real?
No.
No, not at all.
This is about reality competition. Is that too real? Where the pretend part, and everybody thinks, I think you all know what I'm talking about, and maybe you won't admit it, but I admit it, which is like, oh my God, tell me more. And you don't want to hear more.
But it's like, for me, you would hate me so much on set, because like that happens to me like after 8 p.m., but like 7 a.m., I am like, I'm here, I'm so happy, it's the morning, but it's like nighttime. I'm like, oh my God, my cats, like what's going on at home? I'm curious about what's going on at home, just because it's so fun to be there sometimes.
Who are some of your hosting role models? You all didn't start out hosting. You did other things before you got into this. Who did
Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the hardest working man. He's the hardest working man in showbiz. Nobody does it better than Ryan Seacrest.
Period.
I would say RuPaul. RuPaul is like
RuPaul's pretty good.
Statuesque nature to the way they host, and I love that.
When I was little, my mom and I would watch the Carol Burnett show.
Oh.
And when she came out at the beginning and just talked to the audience, and I just thought there was something so lovable about that. I mean, yes, she was talented. Yes, she was obviously incredibly funny and whatever, and she had this great cast of players with her, but it wasn't that moment was just about, hey, we're all here to have a good time, and I'm going to show you some amazing people. And I think that got somewhere in the filing cabinet very deep, and I never thought about it at all until you just asked this question. But if there was a hosting kind of idol or mentor from afar, I would say I took a lot of lessons from that as an early child, because I
didn't know we were allowed to cross genres. Okay, Bob Barker.
Yeah.
Really good.
I guess if I really had to think about it, growing up, I watched a lot of Maury and Jenny Jones, and they both had a really good way of like getting the fun or like interesting things out of the people on the show. So I admire them. Maury and Jenny Jones. You remember Jenny Jones?
Maury Povich?
Yes, you are not the father.
Is that who you're saying?
Uh-huh. Maury Povich. Yes.
Okay.
Mama.
You're like, you really bring up Maury right now? Yes. I love Maury.
No, I'm not saying that. I just don't know who Jenny Jones is. Listen, I spent a lot of the 90s in Europe, so.
Oh
my God. I spent them on my couch watching Jenny
Ditto.
Jones
Ditto.
as a child, so yes, it's a classic. So good. Lizzo, what about you?
Mia, I feel like I was a mixture of RuPaul Charles and Tyra Banks come together. Like I'm a echo Nicole. RuPaul really mastered the art of hosting, just being genuine and off the cuff and hilarious and motherly, and also gets to the business, and also never turns left or right.
Right on.
I had an auntie who I was very blessed that had like every single episode of the Sonny and Cher show taped. So as a small child, I got to that's how I became obsessed with Cher. And so I feel like I've always wanted to be clock the center part. I've always just really It's Cher for me.
I thought about Cher, but I've never seen an episode.
Oh my God, I have. I saw them, and I used to come home from playing in time to watch them because we lived in a big building in Queens. And yeah, I mean, Cher was definitely a beauty icon. We can do Sunny and Cher at JVM.
But can we both be Cher?
That's the problem. Yeah, we don't have to be both Cher. We'll just be Cher and Cher.
Cher was beautiful,
Cher
but also has a confidence too.
In the comedy.
And funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reality TV has gotten much kinder and seemingly less exploitative in recent years. But I'm sure there are some people here who are guilty of watching some of the trashier fare, either now or back in the day. Any like reality guilty pleasures?
Love and Hip Hop, Basketball Wives, let's go. I wouldn't say that it's trashy because for me, that was Black reality TV show. And I think in Black culture, like it's just, that was what we had. It was very exciting. And they're celebrities. Like, so I love Basketball Wives and Love and Hip Hop. It was that for me.
I don't feel guilty about taking any pleasure in anything, but I watch stuff like Hoarders.
You should feel a little guilty about Hoarders.
Well, it's
Dr. Pimple Popper.
It freaks me out, because of our long hours on Top Chef. Like every season for a while, I would adopt a show, and I found out about the Kardashians like 10 years after I knew about them, but I never actually sat down and watched the show. Or Hoarders, or all these like Forensic Files. That's my jam. But I like to think Top Chef had something to do with making sure, like from the start, we were never trashy. We've been around for a long time, people grew up with us. We've been around for 16 years and we were never trashy. And I think that's one of the reasons that Top Chef has lasted, there was like very early on, we just decided we weren't going to berate people because they were trying to really do a good job. And I think it's one of the things that have done well for us to just early on believe in humanity.
Do you guys know about the show Alone?
No.
What's that?
It is so off-brand for me, but it's like so addicting. They take these survivalists. There's like 10 to 13, and they like season 1 you can skip because it was all men and like, ugh. But after that it was like very like everybody. But it's like some military people, some like off-the-grid survivalists, and they have to go alone to the middle of nowhere, and whoever makes it the longest gets a $1 million. It is so addicting.
$1 million.
This one lady got a I almost said that for her, I'm so sorry, but she got a fishing hook stuck in her hand and then tried to put mud on it because she was like, oh, mud draws it out. It literally almost turned into gangrene, and she had to like, she got like disqualified on like, medical because there's like medical evacuation sites. It's just really good. It's really.
You got a guy who ate the fucking squirrel and cried.
Yeah. Or this other lady, she killed this like a beaver or something, but it's like liver was like had this disease. But Padma, you would have hated this. She cooked it anyway. She said, "F it. There's no food out here." She cooked up that spotty liver, and she got really, really sick.
And then when really you win, is there like a runner-up prize? Or you just in the wilderness and hope to win?
They just win like extreme weight loss and like possible long-term injury because of like what they put their bodies through.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. Could never, but it is entertaining to see.
Will, coming up as an actor, did you imagine that you'd be able to host a Lego competition and have it be this additive thing to your career? Or did you get to a place where you're like, no, I could do this?
I didn't really think that I could do it. It's super hard. It takes a lot of work and stamina. And I'm like, day one, I was like, hats off to people who do this and have been doing it a long time. It takes a lot of hard work and concentration and a whole team of people who are doing it really well. And, but it's also fun. I think that you guys will maybe agree with me when it's fun and when the people who are on it are having a good time, or they feel a sense of accomplishment or feel good, that feels good in a really real way. So that part of it was a surprise and very gratifying. And it's also really nice when you do it and you hear people who talk about, we watch it together as a family, or we watch whatever, that feels really good as well. When you get that sense that it brings people together and is having a positive impact. That's something that I hadn't really considered.
Nicole, you're also an actor. I'm wondering, have you found that hosting Nailed It and Wipeout has helped you get acting jobs, or do you feel like there's a stigma to being a part of like the reality infrastructure?
I don't think there's a stigma anymore. I feel like people have stopped pigeonholing people. So like you can host, you can act, you can do music, you could just like kind of do everything. I will say it is nice. Sometimes casting directors will be like, my kid fucking loves you. So that's why we don't know if you're like actually right for the part, but like we're calling you in anyway. And then I've never gotten a part that way, but I've gotten like a different part because the casting director read me for one part and they were like, oh, actually, let's put her in this one. So honestly, I love that kids like me. They're getting me, some jobs. It's nice.
Is Nailed It like a low-key kids show?
Not low-key, kids love Nailed It. Like genuinely love it.
My daughter Christian and I watch it.
And I love that.
And she turned me onto it. And we watch Lizzo's show too. We love your show.
Thank you.
And I was so happy to recognize some of those dancers when you were on SNL.
Yeah, all 4 of them. I needed dancers. That's why I started the show.
My favorite part is
So
when
nice.
who's that one fierce girl who like you were like, you're so good, you're bypassing this competition, and like now you're that part gave me like, it fully made me cry. I had like pinky to like collarbone chills. Like it was I mean like because like sometimes when my husband and I watch TV together, like he makes fun of me because I'll just be like and when that happened, I just like could not. I love that.
I was Crystal, and yeah, Crystal was on SNL. Crystal's been dancing with me ever since. People have been fully dehydrated watching the show because you cry at least 3 times an episode. That's Queer Eye too, though. I'll be crying. I did Instagram stories where I'm like shivering.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much for saying that.
You've all worked on shows with a lot of different kinds of participants. What's a sort of universal quality that you've identified in people that makes them not just good at being themselves, but good at being themselves on TV?
That's a good question.
Or bad on TV?
I think people who are trying really hard to be funny, like someone once said to them, you know what? You could do comedy. And it's like, can you? You live in Dayton, Ohio, and you've never been on a stage. And then like, they're just like trying really hard and they kind of have a wall up and you can't talk to them because they're trying to just do bits or whatever at you. I like people who are really genuine and you can find the comedy in like the silly like choice that they made as opposed to them coming in with an idea of what the show is going to be, because it's like it's reality. Like you could go into life with an idea of what life is, but like shit's gonna happen and things are gonna change. So I like people who roll with the punches.
I think people do smell bullshit a mile away, especially on social media and in reality TV. And like, you don't need to be the funniest, coolest, most doing it person. You got to be the most genuine to cut through, I think, and to read through on camera. That's what I mean, I've only done one reality show at this point, but the girls that we chose and the girls who were successful were the ones who were extremely vulnerable and completely opened up and were ready for whatever, we were going to throw at them. And their story kind of shines through. When you're open, you and your story shine through. When you're closed and trying to play a character, you don't win that way.
Lizzo, I'm glad you mentioned that this was your first show because you do have a deal at Amazon. And I'm wondering, what else do you want to do with that? And what did you learn in this experience that you sort of want to apply to TV down the line?
Well, the one thing that I already knew, but what this show did was a confirmation, is seeing how revolutionary and how touching Watch Out for the Big Girls was because you just didn't hear stories from women like this. You don't see women like this be successful on television in this way. It happens all the time. Cameras just aren't on them, pointed at it. So I learned that I need to continue sharing the stories that I think deserve to be told and put on platforms and pedestals and amplified, and to keep following my heart, because there's so many people's stories. I'm like, this is incredible. And you never see anything like this. And I think whether it's reality TV or if it goes into music somehow or documentary somehow, I'm going to continue to just tell the stories that I feel like are undertold.
Will, I'm going to go a little left field with this one, but Murderville for your co-stars might as well be reality TV, because like the amount of improv and they don't really know what's going on. Can you talk to me about sort of like blurring the lines with genres and being playful in television now in the shows that you create?
Yeah, there is a sort of, I bet you to a certain degree, having been part of Lego helped me when we were doing Murderville, because these guys will tell you, being out there and doing it on the fly, you have an idea where you want to go, but hosting a reality competition show is improvising, and then sort of taking that idea and then having a sort of a scripted show to the extent that we have a story that we want to tell, but then bringing on guests who have no idea what they're doing is exciting to me, because there's that element of immediacy, having. Marshawn Lynch he's actually a great actor. He'd never done anything like this before, but the fact that he said yes and had the guts to go like, yeah, I'll try that. And then he comes out and he's totally open and he does it. Conan knows what he's doing. Obviously he's done that kind of stuff before. Kumail was just unbelievable because he was just so open. And that was the kind of that was the thing that every person who agreed to do it, Sharon Stone, anybody, they were all like, yes. And they were open, and then we're just in that moment, we're just discovering, and it's really fun, and it's like a high wire act, and it's fucking crazy, and who knows what's going to happen. There's a scene Ken Jeong comes on, and Ken's so funny, but again, like he's kind of nervous and he doesn't know what's happening, and all of a sudden we get him changed in his wardrobe, and we're both wearing these stupid wardrobe pants and matching yellow shirts, and he's like, what are we doing? I'm like, hold up, here we go. And then they go, and action, and we pull the curtain back, and he and I run out, and we're on the stage of a Shark Tank like show. And then I go, this is our new product, go ahead, Ken. And then he has to sell, and there's just a block of ice, and he looks at me like, what? And now he's got to sell this thing. He has no idea what he's doing. That's reality. So it is a genre blurring concept in that way.
That sounds so fun, Will. Why ain't you call me?
I'm gonna go on it. It's improv.
You can watch it. It's on Netflix. It's super fun. It just came out.
Watch it, bitch. You ain't gonna be on it.
It's crazy. Wait till you see. Marshawn is like a comedy savant. He's unbelievable, man. And he's so funny. We're about to do some more stuff with Marshawn. I love the guy. He's just like in it, like in the moment.
Yeah.
So sick.
Padma, you just finished your 17th season of Top Chef, and I'm wondering, what would your advice be to yourself circa 2006, who probably had no idea what she was signing up for?
18th, actually.
Damn.
18th.
Oh.
I could tell in your face immediately that it was like not the right number. Like I could tell immediately with your eyes. I was like, oh, honey.
Mikey, you got to fire your researcher. Is it you? Do you have to fire yourself? Do it on camera. Mikey, do it right now on camera.
Sorry. It doesn't matter. 17, 18.
It does matter. Of course it matters.
Because your hosting self could vote. Like in 18, you know what I'm saying? Like 18 is different than 17.
Nicole is devastated by this.
Big number.
She's devastated.
Mikey.
I mean, I had no idea.
I'm so disappointed in Mikey.
Cultural phenomenon. I said yes to Top Chef. I had pitched another show to Bravo, and they thought that was too highbrow, but they wanted to do something in food, and they were developing Top Chef, and they asked me if I would come on. And I was publishing a cookbook at the time, and I said, yeah, sure, it'll probably give my cookbook a little boost. I really didn't think much about it. But anyway, I'm very thankful for Top Chef. It's really more than giving me and my daughter a really nice quality of life, which it has done. It also funds my writing. And the thing I'm most proud of with Top Chef is that we have changed the way a whole generation of society thinks about food. We really have. it's a professional chef's competition. And I love when I'm hailing a cab in New York and little girls come up to me and they say, oh, I had a sleepover and I had quick fire challenge in my sleepover, or I know what an amuse-bouche is. Yeah, I didn't know what an amuse-bouche was until I was in my mid-20s, and these kids know. And I think we really, and Top Chef is in 60 countries. And so I travel and I get stopped in South Africa, wherever I am, like people from all over the world. I'm dubbed in some, and in others I'm subtitled. But so it has been, just the great pleasure of my life to have had some little part in the education of a whole culture on food. I mean, I think that's what Top Chef's real legacy will be. And it has done so in an elegant way that's evolved with the times and gotten better and better. We like to go to different cities to really explore. People don't realize how regional food is, and especially food in this country. And it's been great also to go and embed myself in these cultures for 6 weeks at a time and really get to know. So I had no idea. I thought like I would do Top Chef, it would help my cookbook, and then I would go on my merry way. Like I really didn't know that it would turn into this thing at all.
What is a moosh boosh?
An amuse-bouche is something that amuses your bouche. So it's a little bite. It's just one bite that the chef gifts you at the beginning of your meal that tells you everything you need to know about her. And her tastes, and it's a little like teaser to amuse you, to amuse your mouth, your booth.
I feel like they did that on British Bake Off, and I knew I heard that word before, honey. And yes, obsessed.
You heard it here first.
You heard it there first, but then later on I heard it Bake Off. Yes.
I'm interested in this pitch for a show that was too highbrow for Bravo. Have any of you pitched shows in any genre that the studio or network was just like, I don't think so?
Of course, but no one has ever said that was too highbrow. They're like, Nicole, I don't know, this is not gonna work. I'm like, I get it.
We were gonna do a show. I tried to get Netflix to do a show about these law partners in Utah who both had like 14 kids, and then one of them leaves the guy for his best friend, and she takes all 14 kids and goes with the other 14 kids. And then he's murdered, and he's got to solve the kid, and then he's left with it's crazy. But and they were like, "What?"
I think that's funny.
It's really funny, Ashley, Nicole. You would like it.
Yeah, 28 kids and a murder.
Yeah, you got 28 kids. She's like, "I'm leaving you with," and I'm taking all 14 kids. Which, by the way, thank you.
That's funny.
Jonathan, I feel like Queer Eye opened up a lot for you about yourself and your career. Can you talk a little bit about how participating in the show sort of clarified things for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think before Queer Eye, it was like Game of Thrones. That's where I got to meet Nicole. And so I think doing Game of Thrones was the first time that I realized that I loved being on camera and that I had something to say, and that there was an ability for me to write and be funny on cue, and realize that there was more to me than just like doing people's hair all day, which like I love doing people's hair all day, but there was more. And that was my first kind of clue. But I think if anything, I think being on Queer Eye has only made things like less clear for me. Like my life has changed a lot, but I think as you gain this public persona, or at least for myself, I'm so much more aware of like more people and what more people are going through. And I think whether it's talking openly about my HIV status or surviving abuse or whatever it is that I've been open about, it, like, on one hand, I'm really happy for my life and my career and what's happened, but then I'm also like, how can I get more people into a space of like thriving and healing and not feeling so stigmatized by these issues? Because then when you do talk about it, you're very quickly reminded like how much people don't understand and how much they kind of don't want to understand, which can be kind of daunting. But I think for me, what is really clear is that like ultimately my job on this world is to spread compassion by modeling joy and curiosity. That's really what my like mission statement is in life is. And so what I get to do on Queer Eye is such a gift, and it's the first Queer Eye like changed my life, and it brought my family so much closer. I love the original Fab Five so much. They meant so much to me. So to be in a place now in my life where I get to do that for other people is beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm just so happy that I'm here.
And you're in Austin right now, and Padma, you just filmed the 18th season of Top Chef in Houston. I mean, there are states like Texas that are enacting legislation that I suspect doesn't align with your values. And I'm wondering, looking at these trends in the country going forward, how does that impact where you want to be working and also the stories that you want to tell?
It was hard. It was hard to film in Texas. I still get a lot of comments on my Instagram, like, how could you go there and stuff? But there are a lot of people in Texas, and I have felt different ways about this over time. But I don't think that you can penalize all the people of a state because of its legislators. And we the city of Houston is a really diverse place. I've, filmed there with both shows. And the way that I dealt with it personally is just there was a huge march going on while we were filming, and I wanted to participate in it on behalf of, the ACLU and Planned Parenthood, and Bravo was very supportive. And they actually had, given us the day off, and Tom and Gail went with me and I spoke at the rally. And so, I think it's hard. It's hard to penalize a whole state. I feel like instead I'd rather be there and listen to people on the ground, or make a donation to abortion, funds, network of abortion funds, or whatever the issue is. I think the problem is that we've stopped talking to each other. This is, I'm speaking personally. And so, even with Taste the Nation, I felt like I wasn't creating the show for people who thought like me. I was creating the show for people in red states who were maybe not that familiar with the neighbors that lived even across the street, because they looked different or had a last name that was different, or their color of their skin was different. And so I think it's better to engage respectfully than disengage. We are all dependent on each other. I mean, that's one thing COVID taught us. It doesn't matter how much you isolate yourself, you are part of humankind. So it's, not to get too lofty or corny about it, but I really do believe that. I believe it's better to keep the dialogue open as much as possible.
I also think that there's I get asked about this a lot being on a show like Queer Eye, but I think if you look since 2016, hate crimes have risen every single year in the United States against queer LGBTQIA plus people. And so I think too often we have this ask of do you think that representation is increasing? Do you think that it's getting better? And it's I guess, but who really cares? I mean, representation is important. And also, what's the correlation between representation and legislation? Is it that when representation is better, we get more protective legislation? No. And in fact, as we've had more representation, more restrictive, anti-women, anti-LGBTQIA+, anti-choice, anti-freedom of speech laws keep happening. So I think it's okay for us to celebrate representation, but we need to stop conflating representation with quality of life and how our work on TV changes people's day-to-day lives. Representation is absolutely so important, but I think that we need to do a better job of kind of explaining context and where representation doesn't really necessarily make people's lives better day to day.
Yeah, it will if there's more representation in Congress. It will.
But that's the correlation between representation and legislation that isn't happening. And yes, that's what I worry about.
It is happening. It's happening slowly. It's not happening enough, but it is, there are a lot of people that are getting elected and more will run, hopefully.
It is harder to say that though, is for two queer people living in Alabama, for instance, whose parents are being felonized, for seeking gender affirming healthcare. It gets harder. So federally, yes, but for queer marginalized people living in states like Arkansas, like Alabama, like Texas, the change isn't happening fast enough. And so I just think we need to just be more aware of the difference between representation and legislation, and being really clear with folks that we need more action on legislation and education around what people's voting habits create in people's lives.
Lizzo, you talked about your Instagram live that was caught on your show. I know you've taken a break from social media before. what are your rules for engagement right now? Knowing that it's like a great outlet and a great opportunity, but sometimes it lets like awful stuff in.
Coming off of that conversation, because that's a heavy, very real ass topic, by the way. Just wanted to insert that, and because it's like, yeah, this TV show is not gonna save the world. And it's culture changes a little quicker than the infrastructure of the laws in this country. And when I've changed, 10 big Black girls' lives on TV, what about all of the hundreds of thousands, millions of big Black girls in America who don't have opportunities, who get talked about, dogged out, drugged through the mud, who don't get the opportunities, who will never be able to live their dreams? I think about them all the time because I was one of them. And knowing that my TV show can't help everyone, it hurts, and it sucks. And I wish it could. And my biggest thing always is like, what do you say to people who are struggling right now, who, see these laws? It's like, it's hard to say anything to them because their experience is, there's nothing I can do to change their experience. Their lives are happening right now. And a lot of people who are transitioning, time is important, So I feel you, JVN, like, I wish that we could reflect Congress. Like, I wish Padma, our shows, and the people who are making these statements outside in culture could be making the laws, or at least we're having some sort of impact on the people who are making the laws. I wish that they could watch, our shows and be inspired and say, these people need protecting. So, and that's my job. My job is to protect the people. But far too often we see that it's quite the opposite. So I wanted to just touch on that as well, because it's something that I've thought about, but there is a silver lining. There's a cast member on Watch Out for the Big Girls named Jayla, who is trans woman, and she was able to live authentically as herself, and her experience has inspired people. And I think that as long as people are inspired, they'll continue to seek their personal freedom. And I think the more free we are, the more we can fight. It sucks that we have to fight, but this is just where we're at.
And also, Lizzo, I wasn't like trying to like, because our work is so important and like representation is so important. I wasn't trying to say that it wasn't, because our work is. It's like when people say, to Padma, like, how could you film in Texas? Or to like when people, I just wish people like who followed us and like consumers of entertainment understood that like what we do is important. And we should be like following this, like the city council and like the student, like the school boards, like you should be knowing what they wore last week. And if they went to the meeting just as much as like what we are.
Yeah.
So just understanding that it's two different things and they do influence each other, but one doesn't necessarily mean that like the other is going to get better.
Right.
Just understanding that they're different.
And Padma is absolutely right as well. Like, there are people, especially in those states where the legislation is getting more and more regressive. The people there are needed more, which
Yes.
is why I went to South by Southwest. They're like, I heard people were protesting going to South by Southwest, and I'm like, I understand that, but the people there are experiencing this. They're not happy with it. The people who are passing these laws are not the people in the streets who are experiencing everyday life, So you're absolutely right. Like, they need to hear it. It's nice to be on the ground, connecting with those people in real time, because that's where they need it the most.
I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to get really like active. Like, there's an election coming up in Texas.
Mm-hmm. So
we can get the person out who keeps signing these terrible laws into effect.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah.
Mikey, I had reality show. I had Watch Out for the Big Girls. I dropped my Shapewear Yitty. I
So
dropped
good.
a single. Thank you. I dropped a single. I announced my album, and I did SNL all within 2 weeks. So
my God.
I had to come back onto social media. Even as much as I wanted to be like, to social media, there were lots of things that I was excited about and proud of and needed to share. It was bigger than me at this point. It was about all of the girls who told their stories on Watch Out for the Big Girls. I'm like, I got to get on and tweet about this and post about this, Instagram about it, TikTok about it. All the people who've been working on Yiddy, and now all the people whose bodies are liberated by wearing Yiddy. Like, I needed to go on and kind of tell the world about what I've been working on. Social media don't stop nothing over here. Trolls don't stop nothing over here. So I'm out there just lassoing these hoes up and making my money. It make me money, honey.
If you could turn the camera on anyone in pop culture right now, and this goes for all of you, who would you choose and why?
Sorry, I'm gonna talk again because JVN made an incredible point. Turn it on the politicians. Turn it on them. Like I say this all the time, like cancel culture is this massive thing that we have turned into this like machine. Cancel politicians, turn the spotlight on them, and the ones who are passing shitty laws and the ones who are hurting people, turn the spotlight on them, cancel them, call them out, put them on reality TV and see how they live their day-to-day life. We're not judging them people enough. We judging people over here that don't really have an effect on our lives. Judge them. I want to see a reality show about what them motherfuckers do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, I would have loved to see what the conversation was behind Nancy Pelosi wearing kente cloth. Like, what was that conversation? That was probably interesting and entertaining.
What was that day like?
I would have loved to have seen that. It's like, do you think that's a good idea? Nancy's like, yes, let's put it on and we'll kneel. Like, I want to see like a lot of happen.
I want to talk about dream collaborators. Whose incoming call would make you absolutely lose your mind?
I mean, I'll say it, Lizzo, you.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
So
I was thinking it too.
Like, people were tweeting me. They were like, Nicole, you did so well on SNL. And I was like, I get it. Two fat Black women cannot exist at the same time. But honestly, I love your work and would love to do anything with you.
Yes, girl.
It's really thirsty that I like now have you on the line. And I'm like, hey, Lizzo, want to be my friend?
If anyone needs, like, even if you need like an assistant hairdresser for like even any of the backup people, like if you need me to come like lay on a puddle for you to like walk, like if you just want to have me around for any, I'm here for that, like very major.
Yeah, just like let me and Jonathan into your life, please.
I did think it. I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tell Will that. He doesn't even want me on his show. Murder.
I do. I was going to say before they jumped in, I was going to say that I could listen to you, Lizzo, talk for an hour. I was captivated. I'm serious by what you were saying. I loved everything that you said, and I could hear more of it. And I love your spirit. I think you're awesome. So I would love for you to come and do Murderville. Are you kidding me?
Y'all heard it.
You're the first person I'm calling, Lizzo, and you better pick up.
My manager's over there. I'm like, you heard him.
Okay.
There's a compliment for you, Will. On several occasions while you were answering, you were really shivering my timbers. Like the tonality of your speaking voice, it is just like, ooh, like, Will, yes. And you're like, just, it was really making me there.
Never noticed how deep your voice was.
Oh my God.
Nobody pays enough attention to
That was really deep, honey. Ooh.
Thank you.
So I will cook you anything you want, anytime, anywhere.
I won't, but you can talk to me.
We like each other, Mikey, clearly. Very incestuous group here.
Will, you really do have a voice that's sort of like made for hosting.
Oh,
right?
I have a face made for radio. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
I get it. It's okay.
No, the face is cute too, honey. The face is cute too. I'll give you more compliments.
I'll always take compliments. Somebody said to me recently, like, oh, you only like being around people who like you. I'm like, yeah, right. Who wants to be around people who don't like them? What are you talking about? Like, yeah, that just makes sense.
I do need to just get out one more thing. Shout out for Nicole's cutout in the background. Also, shout out to all of your glam squads. Lizzo, you just look absolutely stunning on this Sunday morning. So do you, Padma. So do you, Nicole. Will you always look gorgeous? Like, get out of here. But can I just say, our glam teams, and I was my own glam team today. So, like,
you look fabulous. I like the fuchsia. That is the color of the season. The waves are on point. I love the center part. Mikey, I like the blue.
Oh, thank you.
Me too.
Good navy.
So they didn't powder me today though, so I'm a little upset.
Dewy skin is in, honey.
I'm glad you guys can't smell my hair because it smells like a lot of fried food right now. We were up all night.
It's giving that good texture though, so it's fine.
It really is. I've got a lot of dry shampoo.
Wait, what kind of food?
I'm like a funnel cake.
So hungry. Talk about the food more. Honestly.
A lot of powdered sugar.
Ooh.
A lot of crispy, crunchy, cheesy, oozy, gooey stuff.
That's what I want.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Dearborn, Michigan. It's Ramadan. There's like 80% of Dearborn, Michigan is all Arab, and they're from 22 different countries. And I've been learning how to make all these Arab desserts and baklava and like this thing called kanafa. And it's been intense. I'm like on a weird sugar high.
So you're in Michigan, you're eating deep fried sweet stuff. Have you had an elephant ear?
No, not yet. I've just been eating Arab food. What's an elephant ear?
It's like, no one else knows what this is. It's like a deep fried like dough, and it's like big like this, and it's just covered in like sugar and cinnamon.
Like funnel cake without the holes.
It sounds delicious.
I'm very hungry now.
Me too. I'm so hungry.
Is it time for brunch yet?
No, it's too early for brunch. It's 9:35, but I guess I could drink.
Tell me the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you that made it to air.
I'll call myself out. It's fine. When we were shooting that first episode, like pre-pandemic, it was like March of 2020. I just got back from Australia. I was on tour. And I was like, what are the chances that we're gonna like have a close-up of my foot, like the beauty expert? None. So I wore this little like open toe heel with just like bunion aplenty, just like dry foot bunion, just like my foot was not cute. And then of course, like there were these like slow motion get out of the car shots, but I thought they were wide, but really they were close up on our foot. So the very first shot of Queer Eye season 6 is just like my crusty, dry bunion, big toe, and my heels are just giving you like Hardee's Carl's Jr. biscuit. And it's only fleeting, but like when I saw that, I literally, like the blood like left my face and I was like, I can never, my feet just, but you know, it's fine. I'm a human. I'm also like a figure skating gymnast who like, you know, we don't have great feet, right? And as long as this is looking good, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's all vanity stuff, right? Mine is just sweat. Like, it was so fucking hot in the middle of August when we did Watch Out for the Big Girls. And I just have so many moments where you just see sweat under my titties. Like, they sweat, and I don't really wear bras like that. You know what I'm saying? Free the girls. Sweat there, sweat everywhere. I didn't care though, because I was like, it's not about that. Like, let's get gritty.
Under titty sweat is not talked about enough. It's you don't even realize it's there till you like take a picture, look in the mirror, and you're like, God damn.
Yeah, it'll get you.
Well, that was supposed to be the focus of my last question, but instead I will ask you
more about under titty sweat?
Yeah. What's the most thankless job you've had in the entertainment industry? I'm gonna start with Will.
Oh God, what? Start with somebody else. I've had so many. Honestly, I don't know. I did a couple episodes of The Sopranos years ago, and I didn't really do anything. And I was just like this husband of this FBI agent. And I went in and I had to read for David Chase. And they were like, I get there, it was in Queens, and they said, well, you got one line. So one line. I thought it was just me. I know, he just wants to hear you say a line. So I said, okay, well, this is going to be weird. Anyway, I go in and I sit down with Georgianne Walken, the casting director, and David Chase. And so I'm like, what am I going to do to make this? So she goes, you ready? I go, yeah. And I just go, line. As if I'd gone up in my one line, and he ended up laughing and I got the part. So it was thankless, but also I felt vindicated that I made him laugh in the moment.
Definitely.
Let's see. Thankless. One of my first jobs was a Nestle commercial that I had to fly to Romania to shoot. It was for Israeli Nestle. And in the audition, the casting director was like, I want you to be as black as possible. And if you're too black, I'll bring you back. And I was like, white lady, what you mean by that? But I ended up getting the part, went to Romania, and they would hoist me up because I was a fairy, so I had to fly around. And the stunt man was like, we found the biggest man here in Romania. Still not as big as you, but I don't think you'll fall. And it was really the wildest 2 days of my life. And they would hoist me up and then decide what they wanted me to do. So then I had vertigo for a little bit because I was just like a piñata, just like swinging there in this big poofy dress. It still lives on YouTube. Not my finest work, but you know, she got a $5,000 buyout and she was 25. So I was paying my rent for a little bit.
I'm ready for the memoir, Nicole. I'm ready for the memoir, and then that story needs to be in like more details.
What economy?
I don't really I was thankful for every job I got. Honestly, I was so thankful that I got my foot in the door. Even I did this beer commercial, and it was humiliating, and like I just had to bend down and like bop this guy on the head, and I was there all day out in the sun for like 12 hours. And I think somebody finally brought me like a little drugstore umbrella that I could stand under. And, you know, but I went home at the time. And I was also in my 20s. And I was like, I did a commercial today. You know, I was still excited about it.
Lizzo, have you had a thankless job? I feel like you've just been so ascendant.
What can I say? Actually, I have a lot to say. I think, so here's the thing. I wear a lot of hats. I've worn a lot of hats since the beginning. When I was like in rock bands and touring, I was my own tour manager. I was driving the car. I was, you know, getting the cash at the end of the day, selling my merch, singing backup for the guy we were opening up for. I just did a lot. You know, I was my own crafty, making chip salads at the gas station. And I think that spirit I've carried into, you know, who I am now in my career now. So there's a lot of things that you see that you didn't know I was a part of. Like, I'm a part of the editing process, especially on Watch Out for the big girls. Like, my edit notes are so insane that I like was with the editor and being like, and then cut here and then overlap there. And then this should be that. And then this looks weird. And the pool's a weird color. We got to change that. And the type, the font right there isn't right. I'm so hands-on with everything that I have a lot of respect for the people who do those jobs, like really, like, you know, the editors and the people who do the coloring and the sound mixing. I had so many sound notes and I'm like, they don't get the thank you, you know, that they deserve because I do it with them and I don't. But I think the biggest thank you is the success of the show and how good it is. Like, when you see it and you're like, wow, this is great reality TV. That's the thank you. But you don't hear it enough, and those people don't hear it enough.
Yeah, it takes a village. There's 10 other people on this Zoom right now, and we can't see them.
Thank you, invisible people.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for doing this. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the Hollywood Reporter Roundtable with these reality stars.
I'm doing a selfie. Everyone smile. Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so
Bill,
much.
call me.
I will. Don't worry.
Bye, all.
Bye.